Snakes.
All right, to you, Chair Buck, we are live and good to go.
Great, thank you very much. Welcome everybody to the Township of Cavan Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting for Monday, March 23rd, 2026. We'd like to call to order the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting for 1 p.m. today. As always, we will start with a land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Cavan is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory, in the traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe, and we offer our gratitude to First Nations for their care for the teachings of these lands. May we honor these teachings. Moving on, we need the approval of the agenda. Thank you, a mover and a seconder. And we'll get the vote that the agenda for the Accessibility Advisory Committee be approved as presented. All in favor? Carries. We also happy today to welcome two new members, Nancy Jack and Marcy High. Not available to attend right now, but hopefully will be involved soon. Disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Are there any pecuniary interests to note today? Seeing none, we'll move on to the minutes. Minutes of the meeting from January 22nd, 2026. If I can get a mover and a seconder that the minutes be accepted, Councilor Evans. That the minutes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting held on January 22nd, 2026 be approved as presented. All in favor? That carries as well. Thank you. And then we will jump into general business. I believe that the clerk has information regarding the resignation of one of the members.
Thank you, Chair Buck. To yourself and the rest of the committee, we have received a resignation from Guillermo. So all I need is the committee just to accept the resignation. And as we know, we've appointed two new members, so we are still within our quorum. So I just ask for a motion. Thank you, Councilor Burns. Seconded by Lucy. Perfect. All in
All
favor?
in favor?
Thank you.
Excellent. So the next article of business is the site plan for the Mutaisian Buddhist Garden, 7 Waitski Hill Road. I'll turn it over to Kyle, our chief building official, to walk us through that. Oh, do you want a secondary to start with?
No, this is perfect. The only thing I wanted to say, Chair, to yourself, to the rest of the committee, if anybody needs anything, we do have some magnifying pads now, and we do have some magnifying glasses, so that's exciting. If anyone needs anything, we have big copies here as well as the smaller copies in your agendas. So whichever you would need, please feel free to help.
I got my Amazon readers now.
And Kyle has cheaters.
$6 for 6 pairs.
They look very official.
People might think I know something now. They should.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you, Chair. So this kind of started, pick this up because then I can't see far. This kind of started because I got no, I can just kind of speak to them as we go. I've got a recent building permit application for a new temple on this site. Me not knowing the scope of the committee, because it was a new site plan, Cindy and I started talking about whether that needs to go to this committee. Ultimately, it didn't because it's not going through site plan control. It's already been approved through the existing site plan. What's the year on that, Cindy? I forget which year that was.
This one is 2012, May of
2012. So that's how long this site plan has been in place for. So technically it didn't need to come to the committee, but ultimately Cindy and I thought it'd be best to, because it's a pretty unique site, to bring it to the committee to kind of just be aware that this is in our township. It's a very large site, very complex site. It's a lot of work, has been a lot of work over the years. But we thought we'd bring it here just to inform you of what's going on there, what's transpired there to date, and what our current application is. So just to be clear, it is just a building permit application. It's not going through site plan control. just a variation of that is I still do require a site plan that I approve through the building permit process. So this is what they're currently building, but just to backtrack, so since about 2008, this site's been under development as a Buddhist retreat. The main temple, being right here, was started back in 2010 when I first arrived. It was one of the first things that I got handed to me. I didn't realize was in this township. And it's a large temple. I don't know if everybody has been to this site or has seen this site. Yeah. Yeah.
Very large, and it's all spread out, like there's a lot
It's
of,
very spread
Yeah.
out, yeah, so we've had, I'll just speak to the positive, things that we've had on this property throughout the years. So yeah, one temple, and then we have two more down here. This is a very steep hill, they've actually lowered it a little bit in recent years for the travel up here. Basically, you come into the site off Ski Hill through this area, it's now gated, so, you know, on their typical days, I believe you gotta, pay at this station here to access the site. There's a large statue here. There's many statues. Oh, do we have somebody? on?
Well, just easy to see over there.
Oh, okay. I thought the other person was joining. So there's many, these are statue locations throughout the site here. And there's walkways up to there. So it's always under development here. We've got a new, there's a more of an architectural detail that's going on down in here that they're building. This application is for another new temple now, so this will be basically the fourth temple on site. Some of the names of these things seem like they're temples, but really they're just, there's the existing farmhouse here, an existing farmhouse here that they changed the use to a monk's dormitory there. Lots of grading and stuff has taken place here. There's a large pond down here for viewing, so there's lots of areas of this site where people go and look at the statues, at the ponds. When I first got here, this was filled with boxes and boxes of statues that were to go up. It's been cleaned up to date and things are moving a lot better on site than when I first got here. So through it, because this has gone on since 2008, each of these temples has been built pretty much under a different building code. So we've had various editions of accessibility that we've looked at throughout the years, because as you probably are aware, the building code has changed many times, including many amendments in the accessibility part. It's almost a struggle to keep up to date on the changes that keep happening, but in lots of areas of the building code, like energy efficiency, all that, it's constantly changing. So we do have up in the main temple, the main accessible access is at the top. So you go up past it, there's some ramps up in there, there's elevators inside, there's a number of things for accessibility that through there, there's lots of ramps that go around there. So the main temple is fairly accessible. You will see there's a large stairway that connects the one platform to the other. And there's a lot of retaining walls as you go down there. So that's one of the reasons why we kind of thought we'd bring it to your attention, that there's quite a few pedestrian walkways, vehicular asset travel throughout this site, especially up in here, that might be relevant to you if you're ever there to take a look or at any point. We do expect, probably not any time coming in the next year, but in the next few years, we do expect a new site plan to probably be submitted with some bigger ideas that they have on this site. So we thought we'd bring it to your attention today if there's any questions, comments that we can on a high level answer today, so that when you get a revised site plan, if you do, it won't be a big surprise to you. So today, the building permit that's currently under review is this Hall 3, I'll call it. So it consists of the Manjusri Hall. I don't think that's the correct pronunciation, but I haven't talked to them in person too much about that. That's like your typical other main temples. It's got the statues inside where all the spiritual retreat stuff happens. The building East Ear House, which I've never heard of an ear house before, but I guess it looks like an ear. There's a main activity room where there's meditation, that type of stuff happens. And then a little wing with some washrooms, and then a kitchen in there that will be kind of a commercial kitchen. And then in the West Ear House is a monk's dormitory there. I believe it's something like 8 beds are in that section. So the public area is really going to be accessed by the 4 parking spots at the north part, yep, right there and right there. Good job, Mark. That's pretty good with just one of those touchpads. And then the 2 ramps will connect to the hall. That will be the main part for public access. And then in the east ear house, there will be a lot of public access in there, I assume, depending on what they're going to use that for. And the west ear house will be mainly, like I said, amongst dormitory, probably more private. So I haven't talked to them personally about this. They've just applied and we've been doing our typical review. Fire department's done their review, a bunch of stuff like that. When it comes to the parking, just to kind of speak to the whole property, there's parking, their total number of parking, based on the site is spread throughout the property, and then they'll do parking near each temple that makes sense for what that specific temple needs. So we do have like a large amount of parking down here. There's bus parking. They do have a lot of bus activity that goes here. There's parking up here. There's parking at each temple area too, up in here. So we do try to get some accessible spaces near the temples, but there are other parking spots available throughout the site because it really depends on the different people who come. I'm no Buddhism expert, but they'll have like each statue is a different, call them God, it's deity. So they might want to come just look at this area in particular, this area in particular. So they may, most people will want to go up and see this, but other aspects of the site might be more important to them. They do provide a shuttle service for anybody who needs access that can't make these walks or anything. So
They
they,
did that.
yeah, so they'll drive anybody anywhere, I guess. I'm sure I won't get into the financial aspects of that. If you need to make donations, that's how they run the business of how that works, but that is something that they do accommodate. Yeah, moving forward in that. So we are currently under reviewing this under building permits. So we haven't provided all of our comments yet. It's we've gone back to them with a bunch of things that were missing in the submission, which is structural stuff, a few things like that. Some fire related stuff with the commercial cooking facility, probably stuff that you're not too interested in. There's also parking as you go up and down this hill. There's angle parking there. Just more overflow parking really. But the accessible stuff is usually right up and near the temples that they're erecting on site there. Did I miss anything, you think? No, I think that's pretty much it. I'm sure there's a few questions and comments, and we can probably go from there.
Councilor.
Through the chair, so on the subject of parking and all that, are there drop-offs for buses at the start of all these different temples?
Yeah, so there's quite a flow through there.
Yes, but is that what they do? They bring the buses
Yeah,
up front? Not-
yeah.
Yeah.
So that I think it's a mixture. You can walk the whole thing. There's a large variation what I've seen on site there, depending on, sometimes I go there and there is a lot of people doing a lot of different things over the years. In all honesty, we have had some parking issues out on the road, so we're constantly working with them to address their on-site parking. And that's more of a flow thing, people be involved directing traffic. Again, they're getting better and better at and working with us to get these things accommodated. But yeah, they do have a lot of bus and shuttling that goes on internally in there through that road fabric.
Through the chair, so these dates we were talking about, so does that kind of grandfather them into a lot of things that, because this is back to 2018 and this has been on the books for a little while, so it falls under the old codes and the old restrictions? Or is it because it's coming forward, it has to be current?
So site plan stuff, so the site plan was approved, so as long as they abide by the site plan, they can do what they want to do zoning wise.
Yes.
Building code wise is whatever is building related. So when they apply for this, it's the building code that's in place as the date of the application. So, but the site plan itself, they're approved to do all this stuff on this, under the site plan. If we change the zoning bylaw, we can't say you need more parking. If they had already this, say they established this in 2012, we can't go back now and say that needs to be bigger because we changed the zoning, because that's an approved site plan. But as soon as they bring that site plan back for an amendment, now we can bring it up to today's standards. Yeah.
So the building date, right, is there any restriction? So that goes into place, you accept it for whatever reason at whatever time. the completion of that building, does it have to be done within a certain time?
Yeah, so typically what we have is you have a year to start, at least start, because these are
Big projects.
big projects, yeah, not like a house. So we usually get people to, after a year, you have to renew that building permit. The point of that is we've had people who have had building permits that they haven't started, 10 years goes by, now there's a new code, new energy efficiency, like with houses, you got to bring it up to that new code of the day. Theirs, we kind of work with them, they do renew them, but they usually get them done. This one took a long time. These ones get done pretty fast now. They have much better people involved. This one was an ongoing issue for many years, many renewals, updates. They had to get engineers involved for lots of updates that kept happening there because it was just sitting and sitting, so. So yeah, that's a constant struggle on this one, just trying to keep them in line with the current permits.
For curiosity, are these being assembled somewhere else and being reassembled here like the other projects?
Yeah, the temples themselves are,
Yeah.
so the ones that have all the nice timber work, those are being built. They get built there, disassembled, shipped over, rebuilt here. Some of the other stuff is built on site, some of the foundation work and all that is built on site, and some of these storage buildings were just regular buildings that were built on site, but any of the temples are pre-built, yeah.
I love the architecture. If you haven't got a chance to go, like it's the architecture on site is beautiful. And it's just so authentic. And how does that, this is not, so I'm taking up time from the committee, I apologize, but how does the architecture from, like in terms of from their temples align with our building code?
They've done, so it's definitely not a standard building where
Yeah,
everything's gonna fit neatly in the box, but they, to be honest, we had our struggles in the past. They are very good now at, if we have something that we say we think it should be this way, they accommodate it. They do it right away. These are all sprinklered, every area of it's sprinklered. I would say at this point, they go over and above on the design part with fire ratings and all that type of stuff.
good, yeah.
We've had some struggles in the past, just about, even when we talk about accessibility, tearing out whole ramps because they didn't comply.
Really,
Level issues, like the flat area that you get to would be completely unlevel. So in the past, and again, I don't want to dwell on the negative stuff, but there's been some quality stuff with foundation work. So understanding Ontario codes,
Yeah.
for that part has been a bit of a struggle, but I'd say now they're making these meet. They're going over and above to make sure that it complies. So,
really good.
yeah, there's a lot of sprinkler requirements. They get a lot of good design, local, when I say local, like GTA, but sprinkler companies involved that know what they're doing with these buildings.
To the chair on that note, what are they using for reservoirs for the sprinkler systems? Are they being forced to put in-ground cement tanks in?
Yeah, so there's a major tank up here that they draw from that has to accommodate all of these. When I first started, the very first thing I got handed all the rolls of drawings for this, which weren't one nice, clean, neat set. They had a massive pump that they were trying to pump out of this pond, but the elevation of it was just not going to work. So it's a huge reservoir here now. Every time they do a temple, we make sure that the engineers re-looked at it to say that it can accommodate these. And then there's a series of hydrants down here that get pressurized too, so. Quite a bit going on there. Then we do have the dry hydrants and all these, so that if we did run out, or if there was an issue here, the fire department can go down and connect to these ponds as well to fill up.
Is this the last building that's gonna be built?
No, there's quite a few more that keep going down the hill.
Wow.
Yeah, if you look at, I didn't bring them, but they give out a catalog that shows kind of what the plan is. But if you take a magnifying glass to that catalog, you go, hey, that's not on the site plan. They've presented us with a new site plan of what they want to do, and there's a lot on it, but a lot of stuff that wouldn't be permitted by zoning. But we are back and forth with them on that, so that's where I wanted to get this in front of you, so you see it and get the wheels turning, so that when we do get a version of that, it won't be new to you.
Thank you.
Do they give us the slope for the ramps? into the front of the building? one there?
I definitely have them. I don't know if they're on there because I was
That's
kind of just doing, is
16.
Okay.
1 to 16.
that what that one says?
Yeah.
116.
No, if you're cheating or not.
No, that won't do it. They're not super far.
This one, this is
Yeah.
actually really good.
Typically we're 1 to 20, but that's, again, this is just made for review. We're still reviewing all of them. Yeah, 1 to 16. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, there's some internal stuff with power door operators and stuff that we're going back and forth with them internally anyhow on some accessibility items. We get into a lot of stuff with, stairs as well with the strips, the visual strips and all those types of things that, have kind of came in throughout the process from here to there. So you'll see on the old temple, there will be, on the newer stuff, there will be more accessibility requirements, obviously, because it's
Yeah.
17, 18-year project at this point so far. So.
And this is something I always ask about and point out. It may not be, I know, and put it on this drawing, but I call them curb cutouts, but I believe they're actually called curb depressions. You know, yeah.
Mhm.
So do they do that at each accessible spot? And then do they do it like on either side of the ramp? Or what, like, what's the expectation for the?
Yep,
depressions?
that's pretty typical, that they would do that, but I don't know if that's something that, should we ensure that in a comment? It'd be a good thing to flag.
Consideration be given to unless
Yeah.
there's an
Yeah.
actual depression in print on this minimum standards for AODA. Through chair, we can confirm that.
I think, so there's a little bit of a technicality with, some things are gonna be regulated by the building code and some things are gonna be regulated by the accessibility standards. We don't wanna give specific detailed comments until we have to make decisions ourselves, but I believe these should be governed by the building code, but I think this would be a valuable comment, if it's not already required.
Yeah, so I'd say like this one will be, when it comes to just a walkway, that might not be. So if there's a way that we can just highlight,
Yep.
To look
consideration
at,
given
yeah.
For curb depressions for
Yeah.
all parking spots, Leslie, or just accessible?
I think like you want to have them from like, right, if you picture these people
Mhm.
getting out of their cars, they have a walker or a wheelchair. Really, you don't want them to have to enter into the flow of traffic to
Mhm.
access the building, so. Typically you will have, I've seen it done many different ways. I'm not a building code expert, but a depression per each kind of group of parking spaces. And then if you have a ramp, you want a depression somewhere so that if people are walking, that they can access the ramp.
Did you see that, Ellen?
Yeah. And also, if possible, a second point of access for mobility. Right now, there's the two ramps, but they both go to one spot. If you're on the opposite side of that building or on the ends, that is the only place you can get up and down at the parking lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I didn't want to bring the full set, but I believe, don't hold me to it. My brain's not working too fast today, but I believe down here where that says principal entrance.
Yes,
On the other side of that, I believe there is an accessible entrance into there. Cause that's kind of where I was going back and forth with them on some door operators and stuff.
to the
Oh, yeah.
parking lot, because there's no drop from the sidewalk then.
Oh, you're saying to the part, I thought you just meant into the building from
No.
there, so gotcha, yeah.
Through you, Chair, it looks like Nancy has joined us.
Oh, excellent.
Hi, Nance.
Hi, nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Very happy to,
Sorry I can't be there in person today.
no trouble. So right now, we're just going over the site plan for the Wutai Buddhist Garden on Ski Hill Road. I'm not sure when you jumped on, Nancy, so I don't know if you had a chance to get a look or not. You're muted.
I have had a chance to look at it. I feel like I'm going to be a fly on the wall this first meeting.
Not a problem at
No
all,
problem.
no trouble.
Through you, Chair, to Nancy, if you have any questions after the meeting, please feel free to reach out to myself or Kyle, and we can kind of give you an overview of the plan to bring you up to speed, or feel free to watch the live stream after, whichever is easiest for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the chair, just curious, how much square footage are these three buildings actually gonna accommodate?
Question.
Just ballpark, man. There's nothing on there to tell me, just.
I should know off the top of my head, but I don't, they all kind of blend. Well, let's have a quick look.
What is
Let's
it? Are these
just do-
measurements 16?
Yeah, 16.2 meters.
Okay,
Let's just get our brains
and
working,
then
do it.
19.8 basically.
16.2 times 19.8 times 2. So if you can keep this in your head, 640 square meters.
Okay.
And then 27, we'll call
Yep,
Right.
27 and then 16.
it 7 by 16 plus 640.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one number to ask me to remember. That's what I was like.
Yeah. Should be 10,000, I think. Yeah, they're 11,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now-
This is slab on grade, this one, so,
You know, these facilities, we were talking earlier, aren't used during the winter, but they're kept
Mhm.
heated during the winter.
yeah,
So the sprinkler systems and all that are all automatic and they will work.
exactly, yeah.
theoretically.
Yeah, there's a few things on site there. Again, it's their business and so they put these glass enclosures up here on some of these temples where they get a big wind to be able to, where some stairways are there. They do some interesting things to try to winterize it. Inside the temples, they spray foam. So there's those massive doors that
Mhm.
we don't technically call them doors because they
Yeah.
don't have operators and such. And they have the big, wooden piece at the bottom that you're supposed to step over if you do open them up. They foam those in right now to stop
Oh, wow.
air in the
Take it
winter
Back out in the summer.
and then peel it back out and restain and stuff. There's gotta be a better way, but yeah, they struggle with getting our climate to fit these things. But yeah, they do heat them year round.
Just one question to kind of loop back to Paul's comment about access.
Mhm.
So do they, for these doors, is it required now by code for all doors to have the accessible, like hands-free opening?
Any principal entrance, yeah. So
Okay.
they've named their principal entrance.
Okay, so these two principal entrances, so it's only the principal entrances that have to have the
Right,
hands-free.
Yep.
If it's like a service entrance or something, then it doesn't require.
yeah, and then there's a percentage too, like if you end up having 10 principal entrances, there's the section in that 3.8 under
Okay.
accessibility, there's like
Oh,
there's
it'll
one
tell you.
through, yeah, you
My
kind of got it,
okay.
you pretty much got it, because these are part 3 buildings, so there's part 9 buildings, part 3. Part 9 is your small buildings, your homes, all that type of stuff. Your part 3s are bigger buildings like this that have certain uses, certain size. So in part 3, things get a lot more complicated, and you pretty much, every time you get an application, you gotta walk back through those sections because they're like half a book long
Okay.
of please see this sentence. If this sentence doesn't apply, there's an exception in this sentence, like they're connecting the dots, and because it's been revised so many times too, you pretty much just gotta walk back through it and calculate your entrance, see how many you have, and just go from there. But as soon as you have the entrance, all the areas have to be barrier free.
4 principal entrances here then. There's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so you kind of gotta do your own walkthrough, because sometimes they'll call that, because this is an entrance to them. So there's also sometimes a language barrier in what this is, what they mean for certain things. But yeah, there's entrances here, there's entrances here, but they've got door operators on pretty much everything in there that connects anything. But they are missing one over in the ear house, in our opinion, that we're working with them on.
Okay.
And then we got a bit of fire separation stuff that we're working with them on in the west ear.
And then all their public bathrooms as well, are they all required to be accessible? Like if they're putting a new public bathroom in here, is it required to have an accessible?
So they're required to have accessible ones, yeah. Again, that comes back to the way it works is they start with their occupant load.
Okay,
That dictates how many bathroom fixtures they need to have.
okay,
And then that will dictate how many of those need to be accessible.
Right.
And they can accommodate that through different ways. They can have the regular bathrooms have some accommodation in there, or they can go to all universals. Whereas like we got the school ends up having all just self-contained
okay,
washrooms itself. So there's a number of ways you can get there, but it is a calculation you have to do on every building.
So it's, okay, so it's for each building, not for the entire site, like each building?
Yeah, because it's building code.
Right.
So building code focuses on the building itself, not everything else.
Okay.
And then stuff like our zoning bylaw focuses on the site.
This is helpful to learn, thank you.
Yeah.
Through the chair, on that note, then how do you handle the sewage? Does each building have a new septic system installed with it, or
No,
are they
so-
pumping that to a,
Yeah, so they have one main septic right down here.
yes?
That was designed to accommodate this entire thing. So anything over 10,000 liters goes to ministry MECP. And the old MOE goes to, once you're over 10,000 goes to the ministry. So they're the approval authority on this septic that's designed to accommodate this. Again, something like that, every time we get a new submission, we ask for verification that that is what they originally designed, yeah.
Anybody have anything else?
Not for me.
I think the one thing I'm wondering about is with only 4 mobility spaces or handicap parking spaces. It would be excellent if the 2 on opposite sides of those could also be, just to fill up that area. Or put some on the opposite side, because if there is a way to get from the parking lot to the sidewalk into these principal entrances. It'd be nice to have some additional parking on that side for handicap as well.
Through your chair, but just for clarification, Kyle, I think what we would just put is that consideration be given to accessible parking on the opposite side. Around the other principal entrances, should we call it that?
Yeah.
These would be
Sure, I'll
considered
know.
other,
Yep.
and then, does that work, Chair? Okay.
Yeah,
South side of.
Or even south side works
South
for me,
side,
yeah.
perfect,
Yeah.
this is where our, the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah, you-
Three of the
yeah,
right
that's the
house.
Sorry,
Yes, correct. Left side,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Through the chair, so I know so little about it, but that's the operation you have to do to unload your chair and everything.
Mhm.
Is there an option somewhere, have you ever run across where, kind of like a loading dock you'd have at a factory, where you could come up with a residential normal vehicle and be able to discharge out of the back of it onto like a concrete platform and then ramp down rather than have to pull out ramps, load back ramps, all that stuff? Is that done anywhere? Is that even an option? Does it make sense?
It would be nice, but there's always the pillar that identify the handicap parking right if you backed in, so you can't.
Oh.
It's always gotta be into the parking lot side. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
For you, Chair, back to Councillor Byrne, just to clarify also in terms of the accessibility regulations, they don't provide for anything like that as well. It's just flat, even surface parking spaces with the requisite signage and the right amount of size. There's nothing else provided for. So we would have to, any organization that's subject to regulations like this one would be, would have to meet that box regardless of any other sort of services they might be providing as well.
No, I'm just questioning the fact that it made sense. I just saw the way you struggle, right?
Yeah.
If there's something that you come out on at that elevation or an adjustable elevation, not that it'd be required because there's too many rules anyways, but if it was a feature that was easily added somewhere that would be beneficial.
And yeah, it's, the short answer is yes, it would be
Yeah.
hugely beneficial, but not.
How to
not
make
there
it work is a different
Yeah.
problem.
yet. And everybody's
different.
accessibility is different, the vehicles are different, their
Yep.
devices are different. It'd be a tough one to pull off, for sure. They should just make accessible vehicles less expensive.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Should make them all less expensive.
We're looking at one right now and it's just under $200,000 for a Toyota van, right?
Is it the one that kneels like?
It does kneel and the ramp comes out and goes down. Yeah, but it's. The vehicle itself, if I was to buy it brand new with lift, or ramp, it's 80,000. If you buy top of the line, but as soon as you throw the ramp into it, it's just under two.
Wow, $120,000, that's substantial.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Anything additional?
Not for me.
Seeing none?
Through you, Chair, I can do a quick little recap if it's okay. So I think we'll have the consideration be considered for the slopes to have depressions at the curb as well as on the ramps entering the building. As well as a second point of entrance to the building. As well as consideration be given to accessible parking spots on the south side or the left side, along with the other principal entrances. And then our general standard, which is our AODA regulations for off-site accessible parking as well exterior pathways.
Perfect.
Everybody agree? Yep. Fantastic. So because we have Nancy, we will need to get a mover in a second or do a recorded vote. Nancy, just because we have virtual participation, so we're just gonna have to do a recorded vote. Can you hear us okay?
Yep.
Fantastic. So whenever you want to call for your mover and seconder, I can call for the recorded vote.
If we could get a mover and a seconder, Councilmember Lucy,
Wonderful.
and then a recorded vote, please.
Chair Buck,
In favor, yes.
Lucy.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
Nancy
Yes.
and Counselor Byrne.
Yes.
Thank you. That's carried.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Kyle?
Nice meeting you.
That's a wrap.
I don't rap, so right.
You sing well, but you don't rap.
Because I can't say. I mean,
Yeah, we need to,
Yeah.
got delayed because.
Yeah,
that's very
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll reach out.
Okay, thank you.
And next item of business is to look at the 2026 meeting schedule, and we the fourth one to review that with us.
Perfect. The only thing I just wanted to say is if the schedule works for everybody, we'd like to keep this as presented. Unfortunately, we didn't have quorum for the 23rd, so that brought us to today, which is also March 23rd.
Yeah.
And we will have our standard 4 minimum meetings that we need to hold, and then there will be ad hoc meetings with planning applications come forward. So if everybody agrees with this, I can send you a meeting request and get it locked in your calendars so that we don't lose that. So before the committee is the proposed 2026 meeting cycle.
Works for me. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, so we just need a mover and a seconder.
Yeah, a mover and a seconder to accept that. Councilor Byrne, Lucy,
Perfect,
and a recorded vote, please.
perfect. Counselor Byrne,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Chair Buck,
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
And Lucy.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Next order of business is the work plan. We're going to take a review of the work plan, if the person wants to do that as well.
Sure. So first of all, very exciting, and everybody should take a minute and pat themselves on the back, because we would not be here without this meeting and without this group at a work plan level. So great job, team. I think that's what we need to start with. All kidding aside too, this has been a lot of work for us to get here. So our first item, as we move forward, I'm going to tailor this so that it's only for the items that we need to speak about, but I thought it would be a good little start. So at our September meeting, I will bring this back, and our first item is we will prepare our annual report to council to check off all the boxes and all the things that we've accomplished in our work plan. Our second item, we did successfully submit our compliance report, so now we will not have to do that again until December 31st of 2027, so that's exciting. If there's anything you want me to stop on, please just interrupt me and I'll just kind of keep going through. So our next is our information and communication. So we did have a conversation with our fire department about creating a vulnerable sector list or residents in our community. And at the moment right now, they already work with our community groups and our local organizations to try to keep that list active. And they'll reach out if there's an emergency and say, is there anybody that you need us to reach out to? Or we'll go to community care, for example, and Karen will say, okay, this is what we've already done and these people are taken care of. So there's already a bit of a hybrid list already in process in place. So at this moment, the fire chief does believe that this is the best way for us to continue to do that. As I roll into 2 more items, though, I think that when we get to our third point on here, I think there's an opportunity, if there are people out there, that we can seek different ways that we can get information out to them, but I don't want to jump to the exciting stuff. But I do believe that we might be able to help people help themselves too, if we need more from there.
I guess, so just to confirm, so this would be a list of residents that are registered with community care right now?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
So then it'd be like a friend. If you know that there's someone that's in your community that's
Yeah.
struggling, it would kind of be that like buddy system, if you will. And then if they aren't registered with community care
Yeah.
and you know there's a problem and there's an emergency situation, you could reach out and then we could say, okay, this is somebody that we need to make sure
Right.
somebody checks his health and safety check on.
okay, yeah, as I'm thinking, I mean, community care is a great resource, certainly in the community. But I'm wondering, things always change and some people may not be registered with community care, so. Like how do we get the message out to people, like if you do need help or if you do. Or if you are aware of someone who maybe lives alone and is vulnerable, like how do we, and you're probably gonna address this.
I am, that's literally,
Yeah.
how do we get to you? That's gonna be
Right,
kind of
yeah.
our question, like, how do you get the updated information, emergency information?
Yeah.
Any real-time information that you need, because not everybody goes to the internet, some people
Yeah.
go to the grocery store, some people go to the
Yeah.
local church, some people go to their neighbors, so.
Yeah.
That's what I think, if we can gather that information from the community, then that will give us some, ideas of where we might
Yeah.
need to focus more on,
Okay.
and maybe it will end up being a list where people can just
Yeah.
email into the
Yeah.
website to say, hey, I'm vulnerable. Can someone please check on me if there's
Yeah.
a situation, or this is how I want that information. That's kind of what we were thinking, is
Yeah,
we get down to the survey
Yeah.
point of it.
yeah,
But maybe there'll be other suggestions that people
Yeah.
give to us that,
Yeah.
put the information out here that we didn't think
yeah,
of.
and I think you guys had confirmed at one of our earlier meetings on this point about emergency response, is that if people call into the township office, there's a pre-recorded message.
Yes, for emergencies, yes.
Like saying what's happening. Is there any way to push out calls, like a recorded call? You know how I say if you have like a doctor's appointment, you'll get like a pre-recorded call from the hospital saying, yeah, we're just calling to confirm your appointment on such and such a day. I'm just wondering if there's a way for I'm assuming it would be the fire department who is your emergency kind of leader within the community to call these people.
Mhm.
Because I think a lot of elderly people rely on phone.
So maybe when we get to our survey, maybe if that's what we find, we
Yeah.
can say, okay, give us your phone number,
Yeah.
and maybe we can work with
Yeah.
Nexicom or with something
Yeah.
to find out if there's a way we could do a
like
pre-recorded
a
blast
alert,
out to
yeah.
everybody. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And that's something that we can take away when we try to gather feedback. I think that would make sense for sure. I know we talked about maybe
Yeah.
sending that out so we could
It's
see.
like an automated message.
Yeah.
To,
Sweet.
Yep.
I just wanted to say that, the people, children with disabilities and young people with disabilities living at home don't have a mechanism right now for registering. I think that's really important. I know that it may be worth canvassing what other communities do. It's really hard when we have a principally volunteer fire department, and putting extra process on people may be difficult, but at the very least, maybe signs on the door. People can, I know my parents have in their building in Oshawa, they've been able to record somewhere that they have emergency needs and need help evacuating. And there's signage that goes with it. So it maybe that we want to be able to provide that for people to keep on the front door of their house if there's a person inside that lives there that needs assistance. I don't think we can rely on registering in different community organizations because too many people are unregistered.
to the committee through Chair Buck, I think the committee's feedback on this is a very valuable point. I will say we will emphasize our partnerships. Is there some feedback going on? Hold on a second.
That's
Sorry.
a good idea.
Community groups like Community Care, one of the reasons the township really emphasizes on partnering with them is they have the kind of reach to vulnerable parts of our community that the township doesn't normally have, and they have a lot more day-to-day contact. But I definitely do think it's a good idea to kind of expand our outreach.
Yeah, because to Nancy's point, it's young people who are living at home, in the home, if they're there by themselves or whatnot, they're not registered with community care.
Well, and it's only people who register.
Yeah.
Community
Yeah.
care, and they don't survey the whole
Yeah.
town, so.
Mhm.
No,
And maybe when we do the call it through you, Chair, during the accessibility week that we're gonna, my thought is a survey, but maybe on that, maybe if people don't give other suggestions, that is something we can say is like,
Mhm.
would you be interested in a sign to put on your
Yeah.
door that says, I need, whatever, whether
Yeah.
there's an emergency situation, any additional care for help for evacuations or whatever. I think that's not,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
great
that's a good
suggestion.
idea.
And the pre-recording, it's like we're already getting our answers ahead of
Yeah.
the survey, but I think these are lots of great ideas on how we can start to get the communication back out there.
Through the chair, so since I got on this thing, from what I understand from community care is their policy or whatever they're regulated by, they can't proactively go try to get people on their list.
Yeah.
They require those people to come to them.
Mhm.
I don't know what the rules are or anything else, but
Mhm.
another stumbling block. And their demographics, I think, are more age related than handicap
Yeah.
related, so that's a different aspect altogether, right?
Yeah, I mean, our community care, and it may have changed, but, this was several years ago now, but, when I was in the hospital, my doctor tried to arrange for me to have, like, community support, and Peter, when I talked to Peter, like, Community Care Peterborough, they said they only take people who are 65 and older. Millbrook, Karen was lovely, and she's like, no, we'll help you out, because it was like I just needed help for a short period of time. But to me, that's a concern, because disability can impact anybody
Mhm.
regardless of age.
Of age, exactly.
And it's not only physical disabilities, it's also intellectual disabilities. So how do we cast the net a little bit wider to think, like, community care is certainly a great resource, but how do we cast the net a little bit wider to help other vulnerable people in the community?
Maybe we can send it through the schools, like send it home, maybe through schools, and then schools can take it to
Yeah.
there, the kids can take it home, and then it will think about everybody in that home, or people maybe not in that home, but even their neighbors too,
Yeah.
like, maybe we can get the survey
Yeah.
out to so many different areas that it touches. To your point, not just community care, but other people in the
Yeah.
community that might not.
Yeah, and I think, certainly like doing the campaign and raising awareness will help, but, it's just something that we have to always, I think, be forward thinking about.
Yeah.
And think about how can we, really account for the diversity in terms of the community who is considered, vulnerable or identifies as disabled.
Very good conversation for sure.
Can we also check with the fire department and determine if there is an individual that's identified in a residence that it can be part of the dispatch? When the fire is called for an emergency to a residence?
Good question.
Again, we
Included
would
in
somehow
the
have to have them identified and registered, but as soon as they get the call, they'd be aware.
That you need something, yeah, that's a good question, I don't know that, I do know if there's. Mental health, the lights start flashing, so I don't know if there's somebody that has, but again.
But signage on the doors is a great suggestion,
Yeah.
great first stop, like start to have Township Captain Monaghan Fire Department or whatever the signage says.
Mhm.
There's someone who requires assistance, evacuating the home.
Good.
We kind of jumped way ahead.
No, I think this is, it's
Yeah.
information and communication, it's all
Yeah.
the same bucket, really.
Yeah.
And it rolls into our, like, maintaining our communication supports and how we do that, and, how we gather all of that. And I actually have, like, hope potentially from any feedback we get from this survey, it can help feed all of that information back up. I think, great point, Nancy, for sure. Yeah, 100%, we used to have one on the door, like, just to say, your
Yeah.
animals are in the house or whatever, right? Like, I think that's a great little easy way to do that. And again, it will help us identify who the people are. So the thought for that, if we wanted to jump to that, so the accessible process for feedback. So we had talked about aligning with May, because May is accessibility. There's a week, and then it's a national week. It runs from May 31st till June 6th. But we can make May accessible month, and we'll just put the social media campaign out there. So we're just gonna come and give us some drafts at the end of April to have a look at it. And then we'll just start rolling it out at the beginning of April. And we also thought about, beginning of May, including a cutout in the actual Millbrook Times if people wanted to fill it out, and then they could drop it in.
Yeah.
And then we put it at all the libraries. That's where we talked about putting it at the school, putting it at churches too. If anybody has connections to any churches or bulletins, my mom's secretary, so we always try to get as much stuff on there as we can. Just all the different areas, to your Wednesday nights, you take it to your institution, any of those places. We thought we would get it out there to try to gather as much feedback as we can, and we'll run it for 30 days, and then we'll do an analysis of the data, and then we'll talk about initiatives that we could take out of that, I was thinking, from a committee perspective.
Through the chair, just to that note, could you talk to the fair board? We're gonna have our 175th right
Absolutely.
after. Like this timeframe is
Yes.
very close to the 175 fair. If there's some kind of visual signage that there's a lot of people come through that small opening, right?
And I plan on being there because we have an election coming up this year, you may or may not know that, so I'm trying to recruit some candidates. So, we can definitely add this, we can have the survey right at our booth, because Mark and I are gonna be at the fair, so we could definitely have it right at the booth and gather information. If people want to do it digitally, we can do it digitally, if they want hard copy, we can do it hard copy, that's a great idea. I think the longer, and again, and if the committee agrees, we can keep this open, like, just give us your feedback, tell us what you're what we can do to
Oh,
help.
it should be ongoing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always gathering it, yeah.
Yep.
But that's a great idea for the fair, yeah. we
Yeah,
can
get it out there for May, but
Keep it
keep
running,
it out there.
yeah, keep it running. I love the enthusiasm. Anything else on those points? Don't worry, I'm smiling for both of us. Okay, so the next is design of public spaces. I can say I think that we're nailing this and we're getting this figured out and we're doing a good job at site plans. I don't know if anybody wants to make any comments yet, or if we want to just run through this year and see, kind of if we think there's any more tweaks, but I think the big prints are working. I think that this is working. I think, us learning about different ways to look at it, pretending we're cruising through it ourselves and how we would identify the barriers. And, I think we're doing great.
Yeah, I think staff's been very helpful in explaining, like what the accessibility requirements are versus what building
Sure.
code is and versus like. So I think that has been helpful with the committee, like helping us learn, because I'm speaking for myself, aren't experts in this, so I find that they've been very, very patient at walking us through, and it's kind of hard too, because when you show up in person and you see something, it's very obvious. So it's hard to kind of, for me, like make that translation in my brain to look at a plan versus, what like a real life example would be. But have found that staff's been really good at helping us understand site plans review. And I think we've gotten a lot of really good perspective in terms of things that we can consider. So yeah, I would agree with you that I think that it's the process is working good.
May I ask you where we are in the comment process for the downtown park and CMCC lands? Is that, have the comments been mostly collected or submitted, or?
Oh, they have not. They're actually on this. They're the third item on this. And I was actually just speaking with them because they had a task force meeting this morning. So they are anticipating that we will have something by mid-spring, late spring, early summer. We should be able to have some renderings from the CMCC lands as well as the downtown park. Bathrooms, I believe, and a volleyball court, I believe, is what we're going to bring to the committee at the first iteration. So that's very exciting. So yes, we will hope to see those. Probably an ad hoc meeting, to be fair, it probably won't be our April meeting, it'll probably be a meeting somewhere between April and June.
So I've one of the things when I think about the perspective, I'm the parent of a young man with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and he's part of a local group that meets at the community center. I can't be there today because he's solo and he gets worried if I leave. So I got a little trapped as the only parent at home today. But the thing that I don't know if this is how this comes in, or whether the ship has sailed, or whether there's an opportunity still for comment. But the thing that comes up mostly in our population is traffic safety, and the importance of keeping traffic sort of making pedestrian friendly areas so that the traffic flow is away from, as much as possible, from the basically not increasing the traffic on King Street, because that's the main place that they have to go across to go to the grocery store, to go to get, get their hair cut, get their basic needs met. And so I don't know whether whether that's too late, or whether this is the right vehicle, or whether we can raise that in the whole discussion. The idea of keeping the parking so that when people drive out of the parking, they're not just driving down King Street, and greatly increasing the flow on King Street.
I wonder, and just building on what Nancy's saying, like, is there an opportunity to connect with the task force prior to them kind of putting all these plans in place? Because I feel like what we've seen in doing all of these reviews and then the feedback that Nancy's bringing is if they do plans and they do layout and then we say like, okay, this would, be so much better, or we need to consider this and it's a significant change. Perhaps it's better to, just give feedback before they get too far along in the actual planning process in terms of the layout of the space. So that they have our comments for consideration when they're thinking about drafting, and then that may cut down on back and forth with different iterations and variations.
Yeah, the main thing is when a young person with intellectual disabilities gets downtown and they, the grocery store is a very important destination, as is the, some of the businesses on the north side of King Street. There has to be a safe way of crossing other than just crossing, because most of them cannot navigate traffic safely on foot.
To Chair Buck, to Nancy. So the answer is we can provide comments about that. I will be honest, I don't believe that the downtown park and the CMCC lands will give us the opportunity to speak about King, because it's going to give us the site overlapping where the old arena was, and then the site of only the remaining CMCC lands. So I think what you're saying is about you getting safe access to all the essential services are already on King Street. So your comment is very valid. I'm just not so sure that it will be able to be included when we get to discussion of the downtown parks and the remaining CMCC land. So leave this with me and let me speak with our team, because the other overarch of King, which is good and bad, is the King is managed and governed through the County of Peterborough. So there is a little bit of comments, obviously, that we can provide, but again, they go through their accessibility advisory committee. So if they're doing any redo or any redevelopment of King Street, maybe, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't ask for some more pedestrian friendly crosswalks across there for this, or some lights or something. Like there may be potentials that we could provide comments on, making sure it's safe to access the essential services.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is already considered, but the road behind the arena that goes through there, I don't know whether that's going to remain open, for example, if that's part of the site plan, but that's, that becomes an area of danger crossing that, if that is a thoroughfare. And likewise, orienting the parking, to the north, to the extent possible, not right in the vicinity of the arena, because again, if it becomes an exit and increases the traffic flow on King, it becomes less safe for pedestrians who can't navigate traffic.
So through you, Chair, back to Nancy. I think what we'll do as a takeaway is we will have staff bring, because council did already approve the preliminary preferred sites for both of these locations. So let me see if there's any changes to that. And if there's not, maybe we can circulate it to the committee, or at least send you the link so you can have a look at it. And then leave this with me and let me talk to our public works team just to see where we can get those comments in, or where those comments would get included for that consideration.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, there's one young man who spends every evening looking at the pond. You may have seen him, and he that's his peaceful place, and that's where he goes every single evening. And it has to be a safe place too.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, leave that with us, and we will get some form of follow-up for sure.
Through the chair to Nancy, just some insight. So parties to be want to rip out that road that runs around in front of the pond right now by Dealer's Mill, that I don't agree with, but that's what they want to do. There is no parking plan, as far as I know, anywhere over near where the old bank used to be. The little bit of parking that's going to be arranged at some time in the future will be basically right behind the Nexicom buildings, where it butts up against the pond. So I don't know where anybody's going to park or how that traffic flow is going to change. But that's the preliminary stuff that I've heard so far.
Is there any thought of using the parking area across from the grocery store and making that more of the central place, and keeping the handicap parking maybe over on Distillery?
I don't believe so, but it's up for sale. You could buy it if you wanted it.
What the
don't-
parking lot is? Yeah. No, I'm just wondering if that's, because that would make sense to have it just, if it's at the north side, then it doesn't, well, I suppose if people exit over to the street in front of the grocery store instead of
Mhm,
King Street, it would make King Street a safer walking area.
mhm.
For what it's worth, you can contact me anytime. I can company phone, so we can go over some more of the details, but it's not relevant to this.
Yeah, we can definitely get you some answers. Great dialogue, for sure. Great consideration to your point.
Thank you for bringing that forward.
Okay, do you want me just to continue?
Please.
I think the next one is on King Street.
It is, I was just gonna say, this is the disruption. So if there are any filming closures or any special events that we have. So the conversation was when we had met with the group, that as soon as we block off King, we lose our 2 accessible parking spots. And so it was a takeaway from the committee to kind of look at some different options. So I will definitely say that our public works team has committed to taking the 2 parking spots that are in front of the pharmacy, and they're moving them to the 2 parking spots that are in front of 1 Union Street. So they will be right in front of the post office. There will be temporary signs put up there for every closure. And when Bridget brings her report to council for this iteration, we're going to include this on there, and then we're going to try to do some social media Q&A or public information so people know that we're going to actually have these there. I'm going to be honest, we're going to give it a run through this season to make sure it works for everybody. So please tell us if you
Yeah.
find that's too far, because we thought if we go over along here, there's a big indent here right in front of the pharmacy to try to get in if you.
Yeah.
So we thought this would be the clearest, the most direct route straight across there. So play with that and see if it works, and if it doesn't, then we can talk about some different locations, but we thought we'd give that a run for this year.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
only issue I would foresee, and it's the same issue we have with the handicap parking that's there now,
mhm,
is the nearest curb cut.
yeah.
Remember, we're indent.
That's something I actually, it's like they did for me. I don't know when it was like 2023, we had that conversation.
Yeah.
And I was the same thing because I was using a walker at the time. I almost got swiped out by a car because you get out of the car, there's no curb cut.
Yeah.
So you had to walk up to the intersection.
Yeah.
There's a huge pile of snow. So then that's when staff had the idea of putting the one another accessible spot there that's right beside the driveway entrance to the IDA. So then there was that curb depression to use because it didn't have a,
Have to lift.
Yeah.
everything else.
Because once you get out, you've either got to go against traffic
Yeah.
and down to there, or you
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
go into
Yeah.
traffic and up to the corner.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it is, yeah.
Do you think it's better on Union?
It's gonna be the same. Well, you're gonna be closer if you get the first
Yeah,
spot, you're gonna unload right where the curb cut
Yeah.
is to get up on the sidewalk. So that would be better.
Okay.
But if you get the second one,
yeah.
same
Yeah.
issue.
you're gonna be having to walk into the driveway.
It would be nice if every one of them could be done the same as they are in front of the
Mhm.
community center where it's
The
just
curb
go to
depression.
the nipple,
Yeah.
nipple cut.
Yeah,
And maybe if we can make those our permanent temporary, does that make
Yeah.
sense? Maybe we could seek support that we could get that permanently cut out
Yeah.
if we needed
Have
that.
it designed as a backup, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's good. That's exciting.
Mhm.
So we'll give that a kick of the can.
One other question.
yeah.
Sorry, enforcement. What
Mhm.
if somebody does use it that is not
Yeah,
mobility impaired?
So are you asking that maybe for the first couple times we put it out there, we try to have maybe our bylaws sit down there and do a little bit of enforcement just to,
Even in education?
Yeah.
Education.
For a while? This is a temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or I guess what would we do, like, cause bylaws, available during business hours.
yes,
So what would they need to be able to support, like, if someone saw someone parking there, didn't have an accessible permit, a bylaw able to have a conversation with them if they receive like a photo of their license plate? Part,
that's what we do now.
okay,
Yeah, and then we just send them a warning
yeah,
and the tag, yes.
okay,
But we could also let the police know too that we're putting
Yeah.
those temporary spots up there and they could start to monitor it as well.
Through the chair, when we close down the main street, we usually have excess of people for that purpose to just reroute the traffic. Anyways, right, they're already on site for the street closure.
Not
Yeah.
our filming though,
No,
so,
that's different.
yeah,
Yeah.
but for most of our closures,
Yeah.
yeah, we have,
Yeah.
someone that could say, just up there to the right, 100%. But the filming ones, we sometimes don't have as many hands on the street where we have that access to be able to do that. But the more people to remind people, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, they'll have the police there though, for the filming, depending on what actor's there.
Yes,
Yeah.
but most of the time the police do traffic control and that type of thing in the enclosure. They
Yeah.
don't actually end up enforcing outside of the enclosure, because then that takes them away from their paid duty officer position that they were required to do. But obviously, if there's an emergency, they will deal with it. But no, I think we would
Yeah.
get our on-duty officer that we have that day to
Yeah.
manage those parking spots once we knew them. Because for any of our events, council approves it, so we know at the beginning of the year when those are, so we can easily queue them up. And any of the filming, the police are always circulated on as well, because part of the closure. So we could just get them just be more mindful when they go by there. Yeah, that's good. The remaining CMCC lands, we just talked about that, so hopefully by spring we will get that, but Nancy, I will definitely take that away and we will be in touch once we hear back from our public works team.
I'm more personally interested, not for, I guess, let's say in the design of the downtown park, because I feel like the CMCC it's there, like the parking lot is there, and yeah, I know it's going to be expanded. But the downtown park, I have seen the concept, and it is even unclear to me, looking at the concept, like what provisions are there for accessibility.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, I'd liked your idea of, do we have the opportunity to even just comment on the concept
Mhm.
at our April meeting to say these are some things that we're noticing and ask them to consider
Yep.
in their process.
We
Because
should
it
be
is,
able to have that,
yeah, because it is intended to be like a very inclusive outdoor space, and just thinking about some of the design aspects, like the tables, there was no place for someone to sit with like a wheelchair or something like of that nature. Because they all had those built-in seats all around them.
Okay.
Or, access to the public bathrooms.
I do believe that's what they're gonna bring.
Yeah.
To you, Leslie, through the chair, there are some things that if there's gonna be a formal consultation, like there's a site plan or something else the committee can comment on. There are definitely a few things, if there's any parking, that's consulted, like we've done with other site plans, similar to Falls Line, that's an opportunity to kind of talk about those sort of pathways. Rest areas is another thing the committee can comment on for what they call recreational trails or passive travel. I think those are probably gonna be the two components. I don't think there's anything in the downtown park, but there's also maybe, depending on what the design is, it's presented to the committee, and I want to say the design is still in design, is my understanding. Any sort of child playgrounds, that sort of, and play area for children, the committee can comment on as well. So I think some of those
Yeah.
concerns and some of the concerns that
Yeah,
Nancy raised will also, the committee can comment on.
yeah,
So
like shade structures and.
shade
But the,
structures.
elements like that is how do we make sure that that gets incorporated when they take the first kind of flip of the can, if you will, on the actual layout of that space.
At the beginning of it. right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me talk to-
Okay.
I like the idea of getting involved in an earlier stage, because it must be discouraging for people who come with what they hope is a finished plan to start having things moved around to it, and it's harder to change things. But one of the real opportunities is adding a couple of accessible swings. For they're commonplace in many parks and playgrounds, and you don't need many of them, but a platform swing or there are ones that are meant for people who have mobility issues that are larger people, like the infant swing, but the supported seat swing for somebody who has cerebral palsy or something. It's a real opportunity to just keep that front of mind so that we can add those before it becomes a fixing thing.
Mhm.
Definitely through you, Chair to Nancy, that will definitely be something we will be consulted on 100%. So you will be able to provide your comments on the playground equipment and what is put in there. Highlands Park was one that we definitely brought some features and some more modern features to that park as well. So definitely that's something that will be consulted with this committee when we get to the playgrounds for sure. I don't think we're quite there yet. I wish. That means we're right at the final stages. It seems like it's been a long time, but anyways, we're getting close to getting that land brought back. Good. Anything else on design of public spaces? No, okay. So customer service, we did turn on the transcription. It does not do a good job of the word Edgerton or Burn, but we try really hard. It calls you Burn, B-U-R-Y or B-U-R-N. But it is turned on.
I did notice that.
And it does help.
It does help. It
Yeah,
really does
yeah,
help to
it picks
follow
up all of
along.
our
Yeah.
but it's okay.
It's all worse.
No, but what I'm saying is it does a good job of gathering names where sometimes it doesn't, like it's close to it, it's not bad. So anyways, great point. I'm not sure exactly who made that in here, but that was a great suggestion and it's worked. And so for any of the social media updates on Instagram or any of that, it does have that auto caption as well too now, so that's good. Oh, yes. Most wonderful time of the year. Okay, so we have an election coming up.
I feel like I'm
Everybody.
watching the Elf movie.
Oh, it just makes elections are fun. Like every 4 years, we get to kind of.
Yeah.
Democracy.
Yeah, it is. Where we get to, yeah. Anyway, so once we're hoping the latter part of the spring, I would like the committee to provide their comments and it won't be at a formal meeting. We will set up a time, people can come in and I'm gonna set up an accessible station. And I want everybody to come in and provide your comments to see if you can hear, if it works, if it's a good height, etc. We have, we've never had a true accessible voting station. We've always just supported people out there, but we want to set it up in here. So there's a little bit more privacy too. Some people want to say stuff out loud. They're not saying it out
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
we're going to set it up in here and it's going to be for the full voting period, which will be from October 13th until, yes, the 10th was last 2022, October 13th until October 26th. So we'll have the full voting period and it'll be all set up in here. So probably late spring, like by May or June, we should have it set up so we can come in and do a little bit.
And so will this station, is it to help like vision impaired or hearing impaired? So it will help with
All
a
of it.
multitude?
Mhm,
That's excellent.
yes, yep. And then we'll just have whatever it is. So if you can't hear, we'll put it, or like if you can't, like whatever it's, I don't know about hearing, visual impairment. That will probably have to get the person to sign an oath and have someone help them because we won't have it in Braille. No, to be honest, unless there's a demand for it. At this moment, we don't. But you could easily, again, come in here and have privacy and someone could help you. They
Okay.
just sign that oath and then someone
Okay.
would help them. If
Okay.
there was a visual impairment, but it helped with hearing impairment. It will make the font larger. It can read it to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That would be a good time to have your things out there too, yeah.
What things, sorry?
Just don't get
Yes,
people, the
yes,
surveys
yeah.
right there, everybody's coming in
Yeah,
to vote.
yeah, exactly. Could put them everywhere that we can think about, like any of the spots to get the community's feedback. Yeah, here to vote, fill out a survey too.
You vote,
Yes,
do that.
all of the things.
Will you have them ready by Earth Day, Cindy?
The,
Survey.
yes, I would say, because Bridget's coming back on the 7th, yes.
Okay, because maybe you could put them on.
Put them out there
Yeah.
too, yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have something back for them.
No, and if you need help, like,
The only hesitation is I'm saying this out
That'd be
loud on a live
Yeah,
recording because I feel
So
silly
we want
right
to
now.
have readers.
It's not, the committee will not have seen it, right? Because
Yeah.
Earth Day is
It's April
18th.
18th.
18th, right? So the answer is no. Because I don't want to run a
Yeah,
survey if
okay.
you guys haven't looked
Yeah,
at it first.
okay.
You know what I mean? In
Yeah.
case you're like, why are you asking these questions?
No, I
Yeah,
agree with you.
Good
yeah.
thought though.
Yeah.
But no, we probably won't have it for Earth Day.
I will say we'll use every opportunity we can to engage the community
Yeah.
because it's also an opportunity to talk about what things that we can do to help people with accessibility needs. It's not only to get information from them, but
Yeah.
show what we have on offer.
Yeah.
now, and if you need more volunteers to be out there
Help
talking
out.
to them or sitting.
Awesome. Thank
let me
you.
know.
Good. Good.
Can I add one question or point to
Sure.
the list? So, and I know I apologize because I keep reverting back to this. It's I saw something in the news today. It was out of the city of Toronto actually, but it was with regards to winter snow removal for vulnerable residents. And around, people who may have whatever, whether it's physical disability and intellectual disability, about them not being able to navigate leaving their homes safely.
Mhm.
And so I know that we talked about that and staff are gonna look into that. To see what the feasibility of that was. And in this particular case, it was in the city of Toronto. And a gentleman, it was right after the very heavy snowstorm that they had, was essentially unable to leave his home at all because of, like, the sidewalks weren't cleared, his driveway wasn't cleared. First responders couldn't get to him. So it's actually now, I believe, is become a legal issue. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But basically, the expectation is that the city does not prohibit someone from leaving their home. So the city of Toronto also does offer, similar to some of the other municipalities that we had referenced last time, does offer the same thing, vulnerable, they call it vulnerable, which I think is more kind of widespread. They offer snow clearing, they do it through their, I think their 211 or their 311 hotline, which of course we don't have, but I think the premise remains the same, as it is a way for the municipality to help residents remain mobile during the winter. And even looking at some of the sidewalks in the Highlands, there was one snowstorm and it took like 3 days for the sidewalk to the mailbox to be cleared. So it's, that's an essential service.
Yep.
So how can we work with our public works team to maybe, prioritize those areas? Because I know that they clear all through the village of the settlement area of Millbrook. But then also, is there an opportunity to expand that program to help people who need help? Because you have to consider that a lot of residents who may be disabled or may be elderly and living alone, they don't have the income to hire someone to come and clear their property. So and I think there's ways of looking at it, like, maybe it doesn't have to, like, we're not saying, clear everything, but clear the bottom of the driveway so that, they can still get out of their house, make sure the sidewalks are clear. Just looking at options in terms of how we can assist people in still staying in their homes and being self-sufficient, and being able to not be prohibited from leaving because of snow.
I will definitely put it on the list and we can take it back. Wayne's answer was honest and we just do not have the manpower, the resources to do it. It's a unionized environment. He doesn't have the complement. And that, I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but that's the truth. He's like,
That's his reality.
that is the reality, and that was what he said. I can follow up and just see if he has anything else he wants to add, or if he said it, but that's.
I think on the unionized front, like every other municipality is also unionized and they manage to find a way to do it.
Yep.
So is there?
But that's true, by increasing their compliments or whatever, so that's what he said, if this is a program, it would go to council, does council want to increase the complement?
Like, what would be the cost?
Costs associated to
doing
all of that, yeah.
And then can we apply for a grant? Because there's like a lot of grants available. I haven't looked through them recently, but there is grants certainly around mobility, safe access in and out of homes. Is there an opportunity to look at something like that? Because our population is aging rapidly. And it is certainly something like this winter. I'm extremely fortunate because I have neighbors who help me. But I know that there is other people in the community who do not have that, and then they're stuck, like they can't get their mail. They're not able to like exit their house and cross the street because the sidewalk hasn't been plowed, or if they don't have a sidewalk, they have the windrow across the bottom of their driveway, so they're not able to leave their home to cross the street to get to a sidewalk. And I just think that it is, when we're talking about like how can we help people manage their day-to-day lives and be safe in the community, it's something to consider.
Is that a committee, does the committee support all of that, and we can have Wayne do an investigation, or what do we think as a whole?
I'm kind of with Wayne on this one. Either we have either the resident will have to pay. Or if it gets approved by council, we're paying for it anyway through taxes. So either way, they're gonna have an issue with the expense. Either it comes out of their pocket now or it comes out of their pocket.
Yeah.
If taxes go up, so. I don't think we have the population to support it. Is it necessary? I think it would definitely be helpful. We'll see what staff say. That's what.
Through the chair, so two little issues. What do you call community? Are we talking the township or are we just talking the village? The other thing is, if you can't get out because of whatever in your own driveway, where are you gonna go that it's gonna be any better? Right, at that point in time, especially in heavy snowfalls. And yeah, to your point, we don't have the tax base that a big city will have. And we hopefully don't go as far in debt as Toronto's gone in debt, so
Yeah.
there's all those things that play into it.
Mhm.
Not
I
trying
mean,
to
I'm
be
talking,
mean,
no, I
but
think,
reality.
yeah, we have to discuss reality, and I mean, anything that I propose, I'm talking about the township, not just the village, because it needs to be, inclusive to everybody. And I think the point is you're correct, no, maybe people aren't venturing out in the middle of a snowstorm, but a lot of people, like, they're gonna still be stuck at home a week later. Because they're, they don't have anybody to help them.
I just feel like we said last time, a lot of the elderly are on farms. And they have 100-acre farms with long driveways. That clearing the end of the driveway isn't gonna help them get out at all.
But I
And
think
that's
the thing is,
unfortunate part.
yeah, and I think the thing is this is like, you have to apply, there is a fee, all the other municipalities that I'm referencing do have a fee, so you have to pay for this service, although it's not as expensive as paying someone like, $600-700 a month to do your snow removal. Yeah, I know of several people who would benefit from something of this nature. And I think if we talk about accessibility, we have to really talk about it and realize that, yeah, it might cost us some money. It might not be a one size fits all solution, but how can we enable people to be safe and living at home? I think is also, part of this committee's role. And for sure, I think funding is an issue, but I think that that is not something for this committee to comment on right now. I think that the ask is, what would the cost be? And then for staff and council to determine that. I think the role of this committee is to determine whether the need is there and share the feedback, and then let staff and council make the determination if it's something that we're able to do.
Do you think, through you, Chair, to Leslie, do you think this could be something that maybe we add to our survey? Like, is there a essential service that you are being denied?
Yeah.
Like, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a great question.
Like, ask if there's, like, we can think about what the question is, because we don't want to focus it just around snow removal. But maybe that's something that we could see. If there's other things that things as in, whether it be access to essential services, whether it be just
Yeah.
getting into the driveway. That there could be a connecting with resources, even like in my head, I'm wondering if we talk maybe with private snow removal people, maybe they could work with something in collaboration with people to try to offer a discount.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just, there's a lot that's kind of running through my head that, back to Chair Buck's point, that takes it off of the tax dollar, that might still give resources and options, and that is kind of, what we're gonna think about, things outside.
Make it part of the general question about what are your other accessibility hurdles or issues?
When Bridget is designing the survey, we could find kind of like an open-ended question that doesn't that's not caught by all the specific ones, and frame it in a certain way. And then if we have some evidence there's a need for that kind of service, I think that would definitely assist staff quite a little bit in deciding if we're gonna act on exploring such an option.
Well, I think, too, like you've got, the vulnerable who, and the elderly. And they're not used to this, so they're not gonna say they need their snow done because they've never had it done in their lives. It's like them coming to the food bank. They will not come to the food bank because you didn't do that in their age, So maybe getting some younger people, but you're gonna have that one section but that's where also it comes in the line of the phoning, the, you know, for the vulnerable people. Cause you know, if you're stuck for one day, that's one thing, but when you're stuck for a week,
Mhm.
that's another story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, community care, they also don't, they used to, but to my knowledge, Karen had said that they don't have anybody now on their roster of volunteers who will help with, yeah.
I think we need to bring back the time when the inmates, you know. Seniors.
Same thing. Oh, could we do that?
Saw them all on the street there, just shoveling away and.
So what do we think through you, Chair, our general consensus is right now for this takeaway? Do we want, is the direction that you want staff to investigate as a majority, or do we want to try to gather some information? What do we feel as a?
I think we should get some more information through the surveys, and we can take this back to them in time for, budget considerations in the fall.
That's fair. Then we'll put it on safe access and
Yeah,
something around, okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll add it to the survey, and I'll just add it to our work plan under customer service. We'll put it under there as an item,
Yeah.
and I'll get creative on, maybe I'll just might use your grant, like safe access for homes or something like that, that
Yeah.
term.
I'm curious to see what people in the community, like, if we give them the opportunity to specifically ask them, what are your barriers?
Mhm.
To hear what they are.
Yes,
Yeah,
we talked about if we felt the average person would know what a barrier was. So we thought about using the challenges or the obstacles instead of, I'm not trying
No,
to use it,
okay,
but you
yeah.
know, sometimes barrier just gets like such a big word. So we
Yeah.
thought we could use,
Challenges,
yeah, your challenges or concerns or something
Difficulties.
that keeps it still streamlined with, you know, not, you know, the clerk doesn't do her job every day or something like that. Like it's actually focused on what we can tangible information that we can actually put some actions in place to. And that's where Bridge is really good about creative words on how to get those answers, so.
It'd be nice though to have an estimate of a cost too,
Yeah.
because you can talk all you want, people
Exactly.
can say, I want it, but if you don't know how much it's
Yeah.
gonna cost.
yeah,
So maybe through you, Chair, the rest of the committee, maybe we can get staff kind of percolating, doing some of that on the back end. Trying to get some dollar values
Yeah.
on what it might look
Yeah.
like to do that if we were to take that on. And then that will, to your point, allow for budget considerations, add that as well, get staff to doing a little investigation on costs.
yeah, I think it would be helpful to, you know, understand the costs and then also timing, right? Like, what is it? Because I think most people probably, to your point, they're gonna be staying home anyways during a bad weather event.
Mhm.
So. And then some of the other municipalities that offer this program, they typically say like, we'll be out like 2 days after a snowfall. Or 3 days after a snowfall. So it's, you know, still within that reasonable time frame where it doesn't become dangerous for somebody. And then, of course, looking at emergency response to, you know, just keeping access available like for them. But it is hard, it is challenging when our municipality is predominantly rural. And people are so far spread out in terms of being able to get to everybody.
Do we know what other communities are doing a similar program? Are they all large cities or are there some smaller?
No, there's some smaller ones. The one in particular is escaping my mind right now, but I would say the bulk of the larger municipalities now do it, like all of the GTA does it, like York Region, Markham, Niagara Region, Durham Region. So all the municipalities within there are primarily offering this. I think the fee varies. I don't know if Toronto has a fee, honestly, but then perhaps they're just able to subsidize it. But there was 2 municipalities that I found, and the names are escaping me right now, who were more rural, like had a more predominantly rural, who offered it. And I've seen the cost range from anywhere from like $250 to $400 for the season. And then as well, the requirements vary in terms of, you know, certification, like do they require a doctor's note? Do you just need to say that you're getting some sort of, like, whether it's CPP disability, the disability tax credit, Ontario Works, ODSP, like what, you know, to signify that, to support that you do have a disability certification, that there's no able-bodied person at home to help. So there is, I think, mechanisms in place to avoid the program being taken advantage of. But I mean, in terms of numbers from other municipalities, I don't know what the uptake would be. in terms of how many people sign up for it? Like, how do they decide who they're gonna help? Like, do
Mhm.
they say, okay, we can only do like 50 people? I don't know, the mechanics of their individual programs.
Leslie, is it principally the mound of snow at the end of the driveway that's cleared and the sidewalks, or is it?
It varies through, based on municipality. So some, for example, the city of Toronto does the mound at the bottom of the driveway and the sidewalks. And I believe in a walkway to the sidewalk. Whereas I believe, other municipalities such as Ajax and I believe Markham, they do clear the entire driveway and the sidewalk. For residents who are physically unable to do it themselves for a nominal fee.
Perfect.
As anything else?
Nope, that's the end of my list for update. If anybody else has work plan updates, I think we'll add that one. And then all we will need, through you, Chair, is just a motion to, approve the updates to the work plan. And then we'll need a recorded vote unless there's anything else anybody wants to add.
Okay, then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder that the accessibility advisory committee approve the updates to the work plan. Councilor Lucy, all in favor? Oh, I don't know what I do.
Nancy,
I think she's.
I don't think I should vote on this. I haven't been part of the history, so I should just abstain, I guess. I agree. I don't disagree with it. I don't feel like I don't really know what I'm.
It's not a legal binding.
so what you have just sat through is our verbal update of these work plans. So I would say.
Oh, okay. I agree with everything that everyone said, if that's, yes.
Chair Buck,
Yes.
Councillor Byrne,
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
And Lucy.
Yes.
Perfect, carried.
Excellent.
Awesome. And then the last thing that we have today is the adjournment.
38.
So if we can have the mover and a seconder, the accessibility advisory committee meeting adjourned at
2:38.
Councilor Green and Lucy,
Perfect.
and then all in favor,
Perfect.
Carol?
Leslie,
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes, we got it.
Lucy.
Yes.
Councillor Byrne.
Yes.
And Chair Buck.
Yes,
Perfect. And then the only other thing is our next meeting.
the 27th, here at 1 o'clock.
Great.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, everybody. Really nice to meet you.
Questions, don't hesitate, reach out.
Nice.
So the next one's at 1 o'clock, not 1:30.
At 1 o'clock, correct.
Okay, on the 27th of April. Okay, I'll be there. I'll see you in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.